Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
You know what? We all make mistakes. Second chance, I hope. Okay? And you know what? I've always been loyal to you guys. Not like those treat you like I've been a good guy.
Not heard yet. Tell me what you haven't heard about the Harvey Weinstein thing. You heard me have compassion for him, which was what? Yeah, he's a sick man, a beast of a man, but a sick man, and I have compassion for him because there's a little bit of Harvey in everyone. Let me be honest with you. Let me tell you to go look in the mirror. As Jesus said, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Okay, there's a lot of stones flying at Harvey from the dirtbags in Hollywood. You're telling me he's the only one who's done it? Since the Lumiere brothers invented film, it's been going on. Actually, it goes back to the Greek theater. It probably goes back to the ancient Jewish temple. And before then, okay, so don't tell me Harvey's alone. He's the first one. Oh, my God, that goes on in Hollywood? There's a casting couch? Yeah, it goes all the way back to Babylon, Johnson. Babylon. Now they're all shocked. Some don't see it exactly the one-way street that you see it. I've seen women write stories in the other way. These women were purposely exploited by Harvey. Yes, he's a pig, yes. But they used him to advance their careers. Now they want a twofer. Now I was like, oh, well, yeah, I had a great career, and he was a beast. But, you know, Woody Allen, who was, of course, questionable with this situation as well, because of his well-known, let us say, a relationship with a young girl who he then married, to his credit. He married her, right? They married, didn't he? Kim Jong-un or something, married. He said the other day, I hope this doesn't turn into a witch hunt against all men. And that's a real big one. That's a real big one. I'm going to ask you a question out there in Savage Land. Have you been the subject of a witch hunt at work? Have you been attacked viciously for saying hello? Or innocently saying something at work, lost your job, got sued? Why, it doesn't go on? That's one topic. There are many. You know, but what's really working at me is why is this Harvey thing so big so fast? You know, we know this has gone on, which is not justifying it. He's a disgusting pig. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm from the exact neighborhood, more or less, where he came from. That same area of Queens, okay? Regionally, very specifically, I know the type. I went to school with the type in junior high school, high school. There was a type like that in everyone's crowd. A brutish, piggish guy, a bulvan who pushed his way forward no matter what. He didn't care who he stepped on. He is a stereotype of the worst of my people. He is the type of my people that makes people hate my people. Let my people go. You know what I'm saying? So let's not be, confused about this. That's one of the reasons there's been such a piling on, is because of the fact that, I mean, it's very hard for me to tell you this because you're not going to buy it. Yes, he's a pig. Yes, he did all those things, I would assume. Yes, it's been his modus operandi, MO, from the get-go. It's how he did the movie thing. It's what he did. He was a pig. He's sick in the head. Totally sick in the head, in my estimation. I have to say, if what they are saying he did, he did. He's sick in the... This guy is in the head, between the ears, zero. Mush. Ruined as a child. I have a friend who's a very distinguished military friend who will remain anonymous, who sent, I can't find it, too many pieces of paper on a Monday morning here. With the smoke and the things, half of them don't arrive. I print them and they don't show up. Where is this? Citing the Pope? No, that isn't it. No, I don't have it. See, what I need is in my... I can't prepare everything at once myself. I need 50 people to do this for me, and then they all put papers in another place. What do I know where I put it? Anyway, shrinks take the streets to demand narcissistic Trump's ouster. That is not related to this, but it is. Some 125 nutjob psychologists and other mental health psychos marched along Lower Broadway in New York Saturday to demand that President Trump be thrown out of office based on a constitutional clause allowing presidents to be ousted when their cabinets decide they're, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of their job. One of the loudmouths, Harry Siegel, don't you know? As you know, Harry's probably cleaner than the driven snow. A Cornell University psychologist, Harry Siegel, shot his big New York trap off and said, "We can sense the power of Trump's underlying fear, that he is worthless and weak, by how intensely he resists and retaliated against any criticism," said the genius Harry Siegel. He said no matter how minor, he can't let anything go. Michel Golan, another genius of the mind, also a clinical psychologist, agreed. Now let me ask you something. How many of you have gone to therapy and stopped because you know the doctor's sicker than you are? Rim shot. But why do you think Harvey became the poster boy? Now, you could say because he was the most egregious example, and the face fits the crime, the alleged accusations. The face fits, right? Like, here is the ultimate stereotype or caricature of the ugly fill in the blank. I can't say the word. The ugly man, the ugly producer, but that's not what I'm thinking. You know where my head's at. This guy fits a certain stereotype that was very prominent in German propaganda posters in the 1930s, by the way. And a lot of this is related to the same exact sentiment. And I'm speaking around it because the minute I go there, you're going to say I'm wrong. Now, I'm setting up, an argument here, and I'm not asking you to even comment, but I know things. And I'm telling you why the pile-on is happening. Because he fits the bill. He fits the bill. Now, we know that there's molestation, sexual harassment, and rape of young men and boys by men, not only in Hollywood, but in all avenues of society. How come we haven't seen any of that? You're telling me there are no young men whose lives have been destroyed by powerful men? Are you joking? It's well known, but you haven't seen any of that, have you now? No, I don't think you will either. But getting back to the main point, without getting distracted, Woody Allen fears a witch hunt of every guy in office who winks at a woman. Filmmaker Woody Allen told the BBC that he's sad for Harvey Weinstein and fears the allegations against the disgraced movie mogul may lead to a witch hunt against men. The whole Harvey Weinstein thing is very sad for everybody involved, said Allen, whose son Ronan Farrow reported claims from several women alleging Weinstein raped them. Woody went on and said, tragic for the poor women that were involved, sad for Harvey that his life is so messed up. He added, you also don't want it to lead to a witch hunt atmosphere, a Salem atmosphere, where every guy in an office who winks at a woman is suddenly having to call a lawyer to defend himself, Allen said. Interesting. So I'm going to ask you again, have you been the subject of a witch hunt at work? And by the way, while we're on this topic, I'm going to shift gears completely to talk about some situation very shortly. The California firefighters did a heroic job. I've never seen anything like this. The historic blazes are somewhat under control. The smoke and ash had diminished over the weekend, and I didn't have to go to L.A. And amongst them, there were some highway patrol officers who were burnt out. They lived up there. And I put a GoFundMe link, a fire relief fund for the Santa Rosa squad. And so far, I don't know who it came from, $13,000 has been raised of a $16,000 goal. I want to just read it quickly, and I want to encourage you to go to michaelsavage.com and donate the money. I don't get a penny out of it, nor would I take it. The devastating fires in Sonoma County have affected many, including 8 families in our own very Santa Rosa CHP office, who have lost their homes along with nearly all of their belongings. Please help the Santa Rosa 360 Squad Club raise money so that we can distribute as soon as possible to these families in need. Thank you for your generosity and support during this difficult time. Every dollar helps. Sincerely, blank. So it's up on michaelsavage.com, and you can see people, donating money, not probably all from my show, but it's been up on my website and my Twitter feed since Saturday, and I'm glad I can help in some way. But these guys, can you imagine? They have to go to work every day and the houses were burnt out. You know what I noticed with all of these fires? The ACLU had nothing to say about it. I didn't see any men from the ACLU up there trying to put out the fire. Did you? Did you see Feinstein and Pelosi up there in boots trying to do anything about the fire? It took them a long time to get up there. But the local Nun newspaper, the mimeograph sheet of the Willie Brown clan out here in San Francisco, there is no newspaper, as you well know. It is a mimeograph sheet of the Willie Brown Democrat machine in the estimation of all those who know we once had a newspaper in San Francisco. They criticized Trump and said, editorial board, San Francisco Chronicle, our opinion. Where is Donald Trump with the fires? Well, I thought about that. I said, where was their hero, Hussein Obama, during so many attacks on our soil? Like, where was Hussein Obama after the Fort Hood attack? Nowhere. Where was their hero, Hussein Obama, after the attack by Muslims on fellow workers in Southern California? Shall I go down the list? Why, he was out to lunch. He was golfing. So you say, well, where's Trump? There's your answer. Where was your guy? So this Trump bashing is boring. Can't you come up with something more creative? He's insane. He's no good. He's this. He's that. Blah, blah, blah. Why don't you move on already? You lost the election. Get over it. Get over it. He's not being impeached, and Hillary will never be president. She can be selling books nobody wants to buy. Okay, anyway, why did you see almost no coverage nationally of the fires? You assume everyone in the wine country is rich, right? Oh, wine country, they're all living in mega mansions. No. Most of the people that got wiped out were poor, in fact. And the houses that were devastated were those of people who were not rich at all. So I pointed out the highway patrol, you can give money there, and underneath that there's another box for a family that lost everything in the Cal fires, even leukemia hit one of the children. Can you believe this? So it's all there. You want to do something about it, send them $10, whatever you want to do. Someone sent $1,000 anonymously. People have money, you know. So, my friends, you ask yourself these questions, and you come up with some answers. But why was the Weinstein scandal so slow to be reported? I mean, it took 20 years. They didn't report it very big. And Hollywood hasn't reported on sex abuse generally, right? Why? Well, there's an answer to that as well. I love that statement. That's one of my favorite. That's now becoming a catchphrase. Well, there's an answer to that also, right? Kit Daniels of InfoWars went and researched this, and he said these corporations own most of the mainstream media and the Hollywood studios, which is why it was so slow to report on the Harvey Weinstein scandal. So before I read the names and go on to the other stuff, I could sense you're bored already. You want something shocking. The audience needs to be shocked with something. We had, let's say, a week of Las Vegas, for which there's no answer. The Las Vegas PD is lying. The FBI is lying. There's a huge cover-up. Everyone knows that. They're all both contradicting each other. Now they're getting a story straight. Second shooter, oh, no, yes. Oh, yes, no. Oh, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. We don't know. Go away. Forget it. Move on. Fires broke out because the lines fell down. Maybe. That was week 2. Exhausting. So now it's week 3 of this. Now what? What are you going to talk about now? What's next? What did Trump do now? What did he tweet? That's the biggest. Whatever happened to the guy in Korea who was going to kill us and EMP us, where 95% of us would die? Where'd that story go? Right? Play one of the songs I picked. Push and Pull is the next one on the Savage Nation. I'll take your calls at 855-47282.
The
$289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. That's the one I want. Who's that one, Jim? I can't hear a word you say. Just play it. I love that. Shut up. I just do my radio show, writing best-selling books. Most guys retire. They don't know what to do with themselves. They work all their lives to retire at 50, and then they die within 6 months or get a fatal disease. Because what are you going to do, play golf the rest of your life? How can you do that? Your mind wants more. I once went to a dinner in Monterey, California when I first moved out to California in 1974. There was a beautiful, elegant, older Italian lady in her 80s at the time. She was the mother of one of the families that I had met out here. And she put out a huge spread on her table in her garden overlooking the Pacific. And the food was on the table, and she said, wait, please, before we eat, let's say a prayer. And she said, man needs more than bread to eat. It was a very beautiful moment. But you see, we are spiritual creatures. We're not animals, after all. We need more. We need more than golf. We need more than idiots on a field throwing a stupid ball around and they're spitting on our flag. You know? Don't get me in there. I'm not going there. I was never a sports fan to begin with, and I'm not a sports fan now, and I never expected more from the morons who throw a ball around on a field. You expected more from them? I didn't. So anyway, the fires, more or less. Yeah, okay, it's over now. What do you mean it's over now? How many billions of dollars is this going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? Oh, Jerry Brown has a plan. Just tax the rich till they all leave the state. Then who are you going to tax, Jerry? You're like the nowhere man in the Beatles movie, the 1960s, Jerry Brown, with the big trumpet, sucking up every dollar into the coffers of the Democrat criminal machine until the horn touches your own foot and you suck yourself into your own horn. Go look at the old Beatles animation, Jerry. You are that idiot, the nowhere man on the hill. So in October, Twitter's very interesting. On October 12th, I put up a post. Anyone see Pelosi or Feinstein in wine country giving out blankets, raising dollars for true victims? Where are the good saints of the illegals? Okay, that was number one. Then no coverage of fires in California from the networks. Only updates. I wonder why. Then I went to, I'm going to show you something funny about this. There's about 50,000 people went on to that on that Twitter thing. Then I put up a picture on my day off of me in a mechanic's garage with my E-Jaguar holding the new headers for the E-Type, plus the engine out, right? 51,000 people. People were just as interested in me standing next to my Jaguar. But then I was walking in the city, and I put a picture of a huge dead rat that I saw in the streets that got me nauseous. That was Saturday. I said, what? So I put up this one, dead rat in the street of San Francisco. What's next, Jerry? The plague? What is that, an endangered species in San Francisco? A giant rat, a sewer rat? That if you kill a rat, you go to jail? Is that it? You're afraid to kill a rat because they're considered pets in the Mission District?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Sexism and misogyny are endemic in our society. I'm a middle-class girl from the middle of the country, and so I always struggled with, okay, so what's my story? And it suddenly dawned on me that I was the beneficiary of these radical changes in, women's rights and opportunities that began in the 60s and continue. And that I could have and maybe should have tried harder to tell that story. But I quickly add, as you point out, I never thought there would be that receptive an audience.
Coming from the woman who knows about sexism and misogyny, because she lives with it. Went on right in the White House. You didn't hear anything about it then. You didn't hear it. Remember that when Clinton was doing that stuff in the White House with the dress? I don't want to go into the details because you know it. Do you know what the women said in this country, the psycho libs on the left? Oh, come on. Shenanigans. There's a woman, Margaret Carlson. You just look at her. You know what I'm talking about? She's like a verb, a Margaret Carlson. Oh, come on. It was just the shenanigans, Bill Clinton shenanigans. They wrote it off when he did it. In the White House, with an intern, jail time. Commander-in-chief, jail time. Not a word. So I don't want to look back. But I want to give you an example of why now. Because the reason they're going after Harvey is, A, he's not, let us say, from the South. Let's put it to you that way in a generic term. He's not particularly tall and good looking. He's short, fat, and ugly from New York's gutters. so that fits. It fits a stereotype of anti-Semitism. That works. You get a 3 for out of it that way. You get men, you get Jews, and you get one other. You get a 3 points out of that one. So that's another. And Hollywood, that's 3. A 3 for. But you look at these stories and you think, oh, it's the first time it happened. So now here's Clinton. She's over there at the London Literature Festival trying to peddle her book. And she talks about the NFL players kneeling, and she calls that a great demonstration. It was really sickening. She's on an apology tour now. And, of course, the liberal psychos who threw their own nation in the toilet in England cheer her. The stupid women of England who turned their country over to the hordes cheer on this liar. I could play it for you, but I don't want to get angry. I'm sorry. I'm not going there. I'm not ready for anger. Later, if I need to jack myself up, I'll do anger. It's like better than orange juice. I told you the 3 things that kept me going all my life were the 3 V's. Let's see, vodka, vitriol, and what was the third one? I forget the third one. Vodka, vitriol, and everyone forgets the 3 V's. But I don't need the vitriol anymore. I really don't need it. I find out that I do much better with, I don't know what it's called. I don't need it. What do I need vitriolic words for? That's cheap. Anyone could get vitriolic in the media. It brings audience. The needles move. I could scream and yell and yes, yeah, and the needle moves. Then what? What are you left with at the end? So someone wrote this. I have a GoFundMe page on michaelsavage.com for the CHP families, and then there's another family of children that lost everything in the fire. It's really heartbreaking. And one of the kids is in cancer treatment, and the home that they were sharing with their mother and her parents that she moved into was burnt to the ground. This is a kid with leukemia. So it touched me. I put them up, the Sonoma fire victims family. And only $1,050 has been given so far. I know people are so cheap. But someone wrote something. She said, I lost everything to a fire years ago, everything. It's a loss of identity at first. In the long run, I learned to cherish people, memories, and experiences. You will, too, sending love and well wishes your way. And I thought about that. Have you thought about what would happen if your house burned down or your apartment? You had to leave in 2 seconds and get away with your life. Have you actually thought about what you'd lose? I don't mean the money or the gold or the bitcoins or the, let us say, the insurance, all the stuff that... I am talking about your photographs, for example. I mean, truthfully, that's a big deal. I'm a big photo guy, and I have old-style photos in addition to all the years of digital. I wouldn't know what to do without them. I got to digitalize all of them fast. About last year, I digitalized all my Super 8 and 8 millimeter family movies going back to when my father was still alive in New York. I couldn't believe it. I mean, like the family story in 58 minutes. This guy does this stuff for me. What an amazing thing to watch my father walking around in the store. And there I was, a young guy with my goofy friends at parties when my parents were young. It's astounding to watch that stuff. But you ask yourself, what would happen if you got burned out? Well, the people are going through that right now. I don't want to do the news. I don't know why. It's like, it's not that I'm burned out and tired of it all. The news is pretty good. But do you know that radio is not the news? Do you know that, I'm talking talk radio, not music, not sports. Talk radio is not necessarily the news. I mean, I could sit up here and carp all day long about Hillary Clinton and liberals. I've done my share of it. It can be fun for a while, but isn't it boring? I mean, it's boring. How many times can you hear liberals are bad? We are going to save America. We conservatives are the good ones. Liberals are bad. We're the good ones. The hypocrisy makes me puke. Do you know what hypocrisy there is in that? Do you have any idea? Well, check it out. You'll figure it out one of these days. Yeah. So I don't want to do it because it makes me feel a little squeamish to just keep doing it day and night, saying liberals bad, Hillary's bad. It's true, and they're crazy. But how many times do I have to say the same thing? Can we have a little education here? Can we have a little insight here, a little beyond that? Can we go a little beyond that? So, I mean, it's, not that I'm talking about the fires, talking about this. So I was in the city all day Saturday with the dog. Teddy's getting old. He's a little deaf. It's scary. Hey, Teddy, come here. And he runs in the other room. Or I'm over there and I call him. Sad. It's like watching a dog get old. It's like you're watching yourself, It's like the way of all flesh. I'm in a room. Teddy, come here. My 13-year-old. And he's like, he runs in another room. He runs around hysterically the house looking for me. He said, oh, honey, you can't hear. It's okay. It's okay. And I hug him. It's like you're going to. Thank God. My hearing is great. So far, nothing's gone. Knock wood. No medication. Nothing's gone. I know tomorrow what happens when you say that. Happened to you can't boast because, God hates boasters. Oh, I'm sure Harvey was boasting the day before this came down. I can guarantee you Harvey was going to take another shower with another starlet before the world came down upon him. So you got to be cautious. God's up. He's watching. He's busy. He's got a lot of universes to run. But he hears. He's got a big set of ears up there. But so far, no, the ears are good. The eyes are good. Nose still works. All the plumbing works. Does anybody watch the show? I want to get into news, views, and reviews now. There was a hysterically funny scene. I told you I wouldn't watch Ray Donovan ever again. I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know what happened to that show. It was great. Then for 4 in a row, a dirge about stage 4 cancer with the mother. I couldn't stand it. Horrible. The worst, most boring, depressing television in history. Whoever wrote it should be sent out of Hollywood. They should be banished faster than Harvey Weinstein. Whoever wrote the death scenes in the Ray Donovan, I said I'd never watch it again. But come Sunday night, I watched it again. It was so good last night. Now, the best scene was with my favorite actor, Jon Voight. Him and his son, he has a half-black son who's great. The two of them are amazing together in this series. Even if you don't watch it, it's played by Jon Voight. He plays the bad seed father from Boston, and his accent's perfect. And his sense of humor is amazing. So they go out, they celebrate some scam they pulled off, and they're with a bunch of women. They pull a Harvey Weinstein with some women all night. And the next scene is in the morning, and the father, played by Jon Voight, is sitting, I'll make it very family-oriented, is sitting there with the after effects of a male enhancement substance, and it won't leave him. He's like in pain. He's doubled over the breakfast table with a newspaper in front of himself, and the son says, Dad, what's the matter? He says, I don't know. He says, it just won't go down. So it's like jokes, like, okay, in the middle of all this stuff. So he goes to an emergency room to get treatment for the male enhancement pill that won't, leave his system. He's like crippled from this. And the son looks it up and he says, this could be gangrene. So they go to it could turn gangrenous. So I said, okay, we got to go. So you go to the emergency room. This beautiful doctor comes out. He's in the ER room and he's got himself covered. So she pulls out this huge hypodermic needle and she says, I'm going to insert it in the side of your you-know-what, and I'm going to withdraw blood through the corpus cavernosum. So Jon Voight, the character, turns to him and says, God, why didn't I think of that? Now, the writing was so good. Everything was funny about this show. You notice? Is that funny to you? I thought it was a funny line. I'm going to watch it again. It was so good. It got good again. It's all the writing. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? These TV shows that are good, they're all good because of the writing at the end of the day. I mean, given all the other stuff is at the top of the heap. If the lighting's good, the directing's good, stage set's good, music's good, great. But if the writing is poor, the shows stink. The Sopranos were great for all those years because the writing was perfect, right? Not one bad line ever in that entire Brad Gray production. But Ray Donovan was up and down, all to do with the writers. They keep shifting writers, Same with talk radio. It's all up to the writer. My luck for this medium, which came to me late in life, is that I was primarily a writer. I was fundamentally a writer. Writer. That's how I started, writer. Streets of New York, street poet, 1960s, standing on mailboxes, hocking people with my poetry on the Lower East Side. You won't believe that I did it. I swear to God. I wish I had movies of those eras. But I was fundamentally a poet, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction. I've always written fiction behind the nonfiction, haven't published much of it, only 3 best-selling novels that no one ever heard of except those who bought them. But the point is that if you're a good writer, you can be a good talker. If you're gifted with a quick mind, a good voice, and a great heart, and a great audience. I mean, I have to thank you for that. I don't know that I want to talk. See, I'm filibustering the news. I don't want to do it. So I was in the city with the dog. Let me just do talk. In the city with the dog all day Saturday because I was going to go to L.A., as you know. Then the air cleared up. I hate traveling, so I didn't go. I figured I'll wait it out. Air cleared up. It was like pristine on Saturday morning. Gorgeous. Jump in the car, take the dog chain. You got to remember what to take, to my apartment there. The dog food, the leash, take a hamburger from the night before. Okay, get to the apartment. And I took him for a walk, and I saw the dead rat. I said, I wasn't going to take a picture of it, but this rat was half the size of my dog. It was frightening. I never saw a rat that big. It was like bubonic plague level. Now, the state of California is in such a mess because of the liberalism that has destroyed this great golden state. It's a cesspool wherever you go. Any city is a cesspool. Broken roads, bums, fecal matter in the streets. I'm not making this up. I ran into a guy who was in the street. Guy comes up to me and says, I'm the engineer from your old place, blah, blah, blah. We talk. So I said, God, the streets have gotten dirty under this mayor and under this governor. He said, it's horrible. He said, look at the streets. He said, that's human feces that's on the street. I said, where are the street cleaners? This is a public health hazard. What are we going to get, like fleas jumping off the rats now onto your dog or cat or onto your own sock? And the bums in the parks, they're defecating in the parks. They're shooting up drugs in the parks. Where's Feinstein? Where's old Pelosi, who has a big trap for Donald Trump and lives in a sewer here that she created with her tolerance? Tolerance is a mental disorder because it's not tolerance at all. See, I'm getting angry. No vitriol, Mike. To remind myself of that. No vitriolic stuff today. So there's like a throwaway newspaper I picked up called the Epoch Times. It's fabulous. It's put out in China by those against the communist government. And the headline is, Trump outlines sweeping immigration reform and DACA deal. Why are they interested? Media give Trump most negative presidential coverage in 25 years. No kidding. The media. What media? There is no media. Just a bunch of mentally disordered propagandists on the left. There, I got it out of my system. I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Let's talk about this for 1 second. Sooner or later, your car is going to break down. If you have an older car, it's a fact. You know it's a fact. And if you're lucky, if you have an older car, you know it's going to happen. And if you're lucky, it'll happen while you're still under the manufacturer's warranty, and the repairs will be covered. What if it happens after the warranty expires? You could be out of pocket thousands and thousands to get it fixed. That's why I recommend getting extended coverage from CarShield.com. A new engine or tranny could cost over $5,000. Even a simple repair to a sensor today can cost over $1,000. I want you to skip that. I want you to go to CarShield. It makes the whole process easy. You select your favorite mechanic, your own mechanic, or you can even go to the dealer to do the work. There's no checks in the mail waiting for a reimbursement. CarShield will pay the mechanic directly. CarShield's administrators even give you the VIP treatment, providing 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is in the shop, so you're not left stranded in the cold. If your car is 3 to 12 years old, it doesn't mean you have to pay high repair bills. CarShield administrators have paid out close to $2 billion in claims, and they're ready to help you. This is a real McCoy. It's a great company. Save yourself thousands of potential car repairs. Get covered by the ultimate and extended vehicle service protection before it's too late. All you got to do is call 800-CAR-6100, code SAVAGE. Bingo. You heard me, 800-CAR-6100, code SAVAGE, or visit carshield.com, code SAVAGE, and you're going to save 10%. Did you hear me? carshield.com, code SAVAGE. A deductible may apply. They're good people. Play Rufus Thomas, Push and Pull. And I'm going to go back to all of the not news of the day on the Savage Nation. There's one news story. The only thing these criminals will understand who run this place and rob it blind is when you stop coming here. I'm warning you. Come here and enjoy yourself, but be very, very careful. The bums are aggressive. The rats are out of control. That's all. So I was talking about like my secret to longevity is vitamins, vodka, and vitriol, the three V's. And I was thinking like in what order? Is it vitamins first, vodka first, or vitriol? I would have to say that if I were to look back, well, you have to add to that. Careful diet, bicycle, but very moderate bicycling, again. Everything can be done in an extreme manner except the vitamins. I'm an extremist when it comes to vitamins because I've been a mega vitamin writer going back to the 70s. Mega vitamins. You got to know what to use. I'd say single anything out, it's the powdered vitamin C I've been taking for 40 years. CoQ recently has been doing a lot for me. Coenzyme Q, astounding. I'm giving it to my dog. It's brought him back from the living dead. But a lot of naps, sense of humor, sleep a lot. A lot of naps. Without naps, I would have been dead 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When in doubt, cop out.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
By more than 55% of the nation. And even those who voted for her can't stand this woman. She's a stereotype like, Harvey Weinstein's a stereotype of a type. She's a stereotype, by the way. Clinton backs NFL players for kneeling during national anthem. Now, why did
resist what are very clear, what we call dog whistles to that base. That's what the black athletes kneeling was about. That was not against our anthem or our flag. That was actually kneeling is a reverent position.
Oh, come on. Well, you would know.
Demonstrate
Monica Lewinsky knows that.
In a peaceful way against racism and injustice in our criminal system.
Oh, what a liar.
I think it would be a grave error for Democrats to recede from those fights. And so, therefore, we have to stand up, fight back, resist.
Oh, shut up. Just shut up and go away. Why don't you just move to England? Better yet, move to Germany. Better yet, move in with Angela Merkel. Better yet, move in with the Pope. Just never come back here, please. You know, all I can say is if you're not happy with Trump, just take a hot shower the next time you think of Hillary Clinton. Can you imagine if this creature had won, what we would be subjected to every day? This hatred for our country, this hatred for our flag, this hatred for men, this love of thuggery. Okay, I got that out of my system. There's the vitriol. It's too early for the vodka. I'll do that tonight. The vitamins I took already this morning, the mega doses. If you ever knew what I took in the morning, you wouldn't believe it. Oh, you should be dead from it. No, not at all. Not at all. Scientists witness huge cosmic crash, find origins of gold. I couldn't resist that story. I know it's hard for talk radio to do that one, but if you want to read it, it's on the top of michaelsavage.com. It's linked up from the big story because this is a huge story. 2 months ago, scientists for the first time detected the ripples in space and time and the light produced and emitted during the same cosmic event, which was the spectacular collision of two neutron stars. Now, I realize most of you just turn the radio off because it doesn't bash liberals. The discovery would soon reveal secrets of the cosmos, including how gold was created. Okay, that's interesting, the average person. Neutron stars form when massive stars explode in supernovas. I know your mind went null. When you heard neutron stars form when massive stars explode, most of you are on the level of the Kardashians. So that already you went to sleep. 99% of you don't want to listen anymore. Neutron stars form when massive stars explode in supernovas are the smallest, densest stars known to exist. Those of you who are sports addicts who like the NFL have already tuned out. A teaspoon of a neutron star has a mass of about 1 billion tons. Most of you who watch the NFL don't know what a mass is, don't know what 1 billion tons is, except cocaine or gold. A teaspoonful of a neutron star is so dense It has a mass of about 1 billion tons. So when the neutron stars collide, which is known as a kilonova, an explosion occurs, and the crash generated a fierce burst of gamma rays and a gravitational wave in space, which was a faint little ripple. Now, what's amazing is this violent merger occurred 130 million years ago in a galaxy near our own, NGC 4993, and it was seen from Earth in the Hydra constellation. And it was the source of the gravitational waves that was detected here on Earth on August 17th. Listen to this carefully. The signal of this event, which occurred 130 million years ago, arrived on Earth after traveling 130 million light years. A light year is 5.88 trillion miles. Now, I realize if you watch the NFL, this is of no interest to you because there's no racial thing in it. You can't hate anybody by reading this. You don't even understand what that means. 1 trillion miles is not real to you. But the fact is that we're living in another world that we're not even aware of. I'll try to explain light energy to you and light waves and light years. Our most interesting thing I ever studied when I was a young teacher, light years away. I try to explain to little kids that if you're looking at a star, which is X millions of light years away or trillions of light years away, the light you are seeing on the Earth right now from that star was emitted millions or trillions of years ago, and it's only reaching us now. So kids would say, wow, what's that, Mr. Savage? That means that if someone on that planet or that star is looking at Earth right now, at you little kids, they will not see you. They will not see you for about a trillion years, which means you're eternal. There's your immortality. I explained that to children. Some of them got it. Some of them didn't. And that's the world we're living in. If only the people were science literate. If only the people in the media had even 7th grade levels of science, the earth would be such a better place. But they don't. They don't even have a 4th grade level of science, you know? So anyway, here we are. Did that one. Let me throw it away. I know it's not juicy. There's no sex in it. There's no Harvey. We could do Harvey. That's on talk radio, Harvey. You feel bad for him? You died. Who did the abuse sketch? Oh, Saturday Night Live, not interested. Jonas Schimmel did it, the jerk on television at night. Biden on Weinstein, not interested. Kimmel's a nobody. He's a foul-mouthed, low-life comedian. They write crap for him. He's garbage. He's nobody. Just a left-wing hack. When did these late-night comedians become, all of a sudden, petty soapbox leftists? When did that happen? How about Maxine Waters on Harvey Weinstein? Oh, let's listen to her. She's always good for a laugh. Here you go. Clip 13. Let's hear Maxine Waters.
They should give it back to him because, first of all, they may not have known what was going on, but the fact that they know now, they ought to give him the money back and make sure that the word goes out that the Democratic Party does not welcome that kind of money coming into our campaigns and dealing with, our elections. It is not to be accepted by us.
Maxine, you're so full of it, it's frightening. Why don't you talk about the time you were overseeing a committee when your husband was a banker and you asked for minority bankers to appear, and he was the only banker who appeared, and he was the only one getting a bailout during the time that you were overseeing Freddie or Fannie Mae, Fannie Mac. How come you never, ever got called to the carpet for that, Maxine? Because you and the so-called news people in California are on the same exact side. There is no news in California. Okay? That's all. Got that out of my system. Clinton backs NFL players for kneeling. Got that done. So, weekend headlines. Let me see what caught my attention this weekend. These corporations own most of the mainstream media and the Hollywood studios. I didn't read it. Airport worker busted opening passenger bags and stealing items. That you can relate to. You haven't seen that? How many times have you arrived and stuff is gone? I have a nice watch that my someone gave me. I dread going through the TSA with it because if you take it off and you put it in those little gray bins, first of all, you scratch the watch. That's number one. Number two, one of them is going to filch the watch and say it wasn't there. So I put it in a sock in my carry-on. That's the way. I have to do that with a watch now. That's wonderful flying. Al Sharpton's daughter an hour late to her own wedding. She has a $5 million injured ankle, don't you know? She's been suing the city for 7 figures over an alleged injury she suffered on the street. but she made her way successfully to the altar without crutches or help to marry Marcus Bright in a public ceremony at the Greater Allen AME Cathedral in Queens. Great, glad to hear it. Chelsea Clinton avoids questions about Harvey Weinstein's donations to the Clinton Foundation. Did you hear about that one? As the sex abuse scandal surrounding disgraced Hollywood mega producer Harvey Weinstein, former First Daughter Chelsea Clinton would not say what the Clinton Foundation would do with its donations from the major Democratic donor Harvey Weinstein. What are you? Because she's going to give it back? The day any of those grifters give back a dime, I'd like to know about it. Okay, they're going to give back a cent? The Clinton family? Joking? Iran deal supporters are willing to sell out the U.S. to jihadists. No kidding. Do you see how many people are collaborationists now with Iran? Have you seen this? Yeah, it's crazy. I asked Woody Allen fears a witch hunt of every guy in an office that winks at a woman. And I said to you, have you been the subject of a witch hunt at work? No one called. No one's interested in that. So let's do news, views, and reviews. New television. I told you I didn't watch the one with him because it got boring with the funeral, with the death, the cancer. Then I watched it and it was good. That was with Midnight Cowboy, whose name I forget all the time, or John Voight. But there's another one that I will not watch. I will not watch the new season of Larry David. I turned it on. It was putrid, boring, stale, old, horrible. I hope it's a bomb. It's a stiff. There's another one of the worst shows ever reintroduced in television history, which is this show Dice, Andrew Dice Clay. What a has-been this guy is. Does anyone watch that show? It's a stiff of the worst order. The only one who could watch a show like that and enjoy it would be the producers. I can't understand why they produced it. Every show starts with him when he was popular, with the jacket on the stage when he was popular in 1988. How many times can he talk about Remember When? Andrew Dice Clay should just go away and leave us alone already. Horrible. You know, like you want to like him, but there's nothing to like there. Again, no one knows what I'm talking about. If you keep this up and you don't respond to anything I'm saying, I will read from God, Faith, and Reason. Then you're really going to have something to despise in me. If you keep this up and you don't respond to my great show today, which you're not. This happens once in a while. I know when it happens. It's either when I'm on a roll and you know that I'm just going to keep talking and not take your calls and you're enjoying the rant anyway, or where I'm going, you're enjoying the stand-up, or you're so bored to death that you're listening to Wallbanger. You'll even tune into him when I get into one of these moods. I don't know which one it is. It's hard to tell. It's like the book God, Faith, and Reason. I have told everybody I know the following. I'm giving you the truth here, the straight-up emes. This book will either be the biggest book I ever wrote, like my Jonathan Livingston Seagull, like one printing after another, or it's going to bomb. I think it could take off like crazy, personally. It's still not, by the way, with no promotion, God, Faith, and Reason on the pre-order is number one on Amazon amongst religious books. Okay, well, it's a limited audience. Those are the people who don't like the NFL. Those are the people who don't like liberals. Those are the people who don't like Hillary Clinton. Those are the people who hate Harvey Weinstein. Those are the people who hate Hollywood. They're buying the book. But what about the general audience? Why would they ever buy God, Faith, and Reason? I can't tell you yet, but you will. I have to wait. I'm holding my fire until November 1st to actually read from it. Once you see the struggles that this guy has had, me, to see whether God exists, and that's still not knowing to this day and how ambivalent I am on it all, you'll understand why the book has mass appeal. Say, well, what are you trying to hedge your bet? No, I'm trying to tell you what a human being is all about. That's all. I'm telling you what a human being is about. You know what freed me up was Mother Teresa herself. In her later years, she said that someday she woke up and she didn't even know if God existed. That liberated me from saying, well, how come I doubt it sometimes? So I'm a doubting guy, and doubt is good. Doubt is God himself, because we are ambivalent creatures. Do you know that man by definition is ambivalent? Did you understand? Do you understand that? All right, whatever. This keeps up. I'm just going to start reading from the book. The phone number is 855-407-282. Again, shout out for the CHP. Go to michaelsavage.com and send him some money. Stop being a cheapskate. Okay, send him some money there. Let him meet the $16,000 goal. Many of you can write that check and not even feel it. Do you know that? You can write a $16,000 check to the CHP and not even feel it. What are you saving it for? For your in-laws who hate you? You're saving it for your children who don't talk to you? What are you saving the money for? Think about it. What, are you taking it all with you? What are you going to do with it? Give it to somebody. Give it to somebody good. Your children don't like you anyway. They don't talk to you, so why give it to them? Let's see, what time is it already? 20 minutes after the hour. I haven't had lunch. I need to eat. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Okay, here we go. It is 25 minutes after the hour on the Savage Nation, the home of God, faith, and reason. Actually, that works. It is the home of God, faith, and reason when you think about it. It's what it's been since 1994. Every other word is about death, dying, the afterlife. What does it all mean? There's God. What is faith? Actually, I'm thinking about that. Faith and reason, they're like opposite each other, are they? No. They're cousins. In order to be totally reasonable, you have to have faith. And in order to be a God-loving person with faith, you must be reasonable. I'm going to give you an example. At the turn of the century, the Jewish newspapers in New York that had a big Yiddish press, they published for a lot of people who just came over from like the old world. They lived in the dark ages in Russia, Poland. They published in the Jewish newspaper the picture of a giant sequoia tree in California, and they said it was thousands of years old. And a lot of religious Jews said, oh, it can't be. The world is only 5,000 some odd years old. How could it be millions of years old, 1,000 years old? How could that tree be 6,000 years old? Well, that's an example of primitive thinking. You have to live in both worlds. You have to walk in two worlds at once. You can have a faith in God, and you could be extremely rational and reasonable at the same time. And I hope that with my book, God, Faith, and Reason, I'm going to bring a lot of very, very reasonable, faithless people back to their own religion. See, I'm not out to convert anybody. I want to bring them back to where their family was not too long ago because it's in their DNA. It's encoded in them. Let me put it to you this way. I once said to a very religious man, I was very cynical. I said, if God is so great, what does he need me to worship him for? And this very humble man said, God does not need you to worship him. You need to worship God. Now, that message is taught in all recovery groups, by the way, because the thing that gets all of us in trouble is the Weinstein factor. We think we're bigger than God. We think that we're above criticism or we're above calamity. We think that we're God Almighty ourselves, and you know what follows? Pride. Pride cometh before a fall. Look at Weinstein is a living example of a biblical adage of pride cometh before the fall. So I'm saying to you is, man who thinks he's bigger than everyone on earth will often stumble and get into trouble. And that's why you need faith. It's not like God needs you to worship him. You need to realize that you're just a little tiny speck. Not only a speck amongst 7 billion specks, but a planet that's a speck amongst trillions of specks. How does that not shrink you down and make you humble? The answer is you don't want to be humble. You want to be the most egotistical creature that God has ever made, because that's the only way you can get through life. Without it, what are you? If you don't have that energy, how are you going to survive, right?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Monday today. Maybe I should do calls from the crazies today. I don't care about the news. I don't care about Iran. I don't care about Harvey Weinstein. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's a pig. I knew the type. I never associated with that type of guy. There was always someone like the perimeter of the crowd. We never hung out with him. Pigs. Remember I told you a story about the Nympho in Alley Pond Park years ago when you got to love me because you saw how sensitive I was? Look, I know the type. I grew up with guys like that. That's why I left New York. They went into the garment center or into the record business, or the worst of them, and I'm not joking, went into politics. Things that I hardly knew about. The worst pig of all of them became a politician in New York. He's very famous now. I won't mention his name for obvious reasons. There's a lot of Harveys around us. One became a tie salesman. Another one became a class action lawyer. There's a whole variety, but they don't all look like them either. Some of them look like decent-looking guys. They're not. But you think it's limited to New York? It isn't. So what are you going to do about it? How can you change anything? Now, all of a sudden, he's the worst man on the planet. The worst man on the planet. I was thinking about that this morning. All these self-righteous phonies in Hollywood who hate Harvey Weinstein because it's about them. All these poor starlets who were so abused by him had nothing to say when girls were screaming out in the night during the phase of the industrial rape by their friends in the Islamic State. Little girls, Christian girls, Yazidi girls, captured by the lowest vermin the planet has seen since Hitler's time, raping them around the clock in safe houses in Raqqa. Not one of these starlets said one word. Hillary Clinton didn't raise her voice. Maxine Waters didn't raise her voice. All these girls raped around the clock by these vermin wearing the scarves there. Those who were going to go to heaven for raping little girls. Not one word from these sacred little women of Hollywood. Not one word when there was industrial rape going on in our time. Not one word from all of these touchingly sensitive women of Hollywood. So, you see, I don't want to do news because it does bring out a lot of vitriolic anger in me. I don't want to go there. Okay. What do you want to talk about? Here's a guy from WDRC Radio named Dale. Dale, what's on your mind?
Dr. Savage, thank you for taking my call. I have to tell you, and I believe there's a lot of people like me, the working eddies of the world, of the country, that enjoy listening to your shows where you talk about science, you talk about supernovas or the Galapagos Islands. I mean, I really enjoy it.
You mean more than liberal bashing?
Well, you can only go...
Why, I tell you, it's them liberals. It's those liberals who did it. I tell you, liberalism is no good. No good. Them Dems are no good. And the Republicans are no good. The only one good is me.
It numbs your brain to listen to that over and over. But, the connection of your new book, God, Religion, and Faith, doesn't that fall into the hands of your shows that when you talk about the astronomy or you talk about science? And
Absolutely. I mean, you read a thing about supernovas colliding 200 million years ago or 1 trillion years ago, and the light just arrives on Earth August 17th. If that doesn't reduce you to a humble being, then you're no better than Harvey Weinstein because you think you're God himself.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Knowledge, at the end of the day, here's the beautiful part. You just brought it out of me. At the end of the day, the more knowledge you have and the more knowledge of science you have, it humbles a man, and it reduces you to a humble being. And that brings you back to the only thing that can save you, which is faith. That's the whole point of God, faith, and reason, which is once you understand how insignificant we really are, once you really understand that, you're reduced to a pile of prayer. That's all that's left.
But Dr. Savage, you're not trying to convert anybody when you talk about your book. If somebody reads one of your books, like I have read many, you are forced to make a decision on the information you're getting. It's quite different from somebody staring you in the eye and telling you something. That's somebody trying to convert.
Well, that's it. No, so in other words, a televangelist. I'm not a televangelist. I'm not a radio evangelist. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm really just trying to express one man's struggles to get through life without hurting somebody or hurting himself. That's what it comes down to, is that it's a lifetime of a struggle not to commit homicide or suicide is what it comes down to. I've been living on the edge. I've been walking on a razor's edge my entire life. Do you know that, Dale?
Yes, but I'm telling you, your education of people through your writings is what you're doing, and you're not converting people unless they're smart enough to listen to the facts.
I have asked, I thought I wouldn't live past 40 because of my inheritance and my nervous system and whatnot. So I figured I'd never live past 40. Then when 50 came, I said, that's an addition. But here I am. Thank God I'm still here on the radio. And I ask myself, what does God want from me? Because this is not about me. It hasn't been about me for a very long time. Every impediment known to mankind has been put in my way in my radio career. You ask anybody who really knows what I've gone through, what I go through every day. Every impediment you can imagine is presented before me. And yet, The stumbling blocks do not make me stumble. And I've got to ask myself, what does God want from me on the radio? Because that's what I'm here for. I got to, oh boy, I can go down this road. I didn't intend to because it becomes too evangelical in its own way. First of all, Dale, let me go on this run for a minute. Dale, stay on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of God, Faith, and Reason when it comes out. And I ask everyone else out there that if you are God-fearing, I'm going to say it right now. Go to Amazon.com or BNN.com. Buy 5 copies. How's that? Give it to your children. Give it to your doubting Thomas neighbors. And say, what do I want to read this garbage for? No, it's about one man's struggle to believe. That's number one. And his findings here and there. That's number 2. So over the weekend, I had a lot of time. I went to the city with my dog. I was in one of my moods after the fires and the tragedy and the this and the that and the air. I couldn't breathe. I spent the whole day alone, as I usually do, by the way. I'm a loner. I look back on my life and say, wait a minute. Yeah, you've been a loner your whole life in many ways. You're always alone. I go back, by the way, to a story called The Boy in the Cold Sand. You see, the book's got like a lot of anecdotes. It was about an 11-year-old boy who is at a Boy Scout dinner in Far Rockaway, New York. It was a father and son dinner, and I write about it. And everyone had their father there but me. I had no father. My father wasn't mean. He was working. He worked 7 days a week to make a living, pay the mortgage, pay for the car, pay for this, pay for that. But I still had no father there. I wanted a father. I was the only boy without a father. Now, an 11-year-old boy does not understand depression. I got to tell you that right now. So the story goes on. The boy, it's called The Boy in the Cold Sand. This boy walks out of the father and son dinner on that cold winter day in Far Rockaway, and he's wandering in the sand on the water's edge. I didn't know what the boy was going to do because the boy didn't know what he was going to do, nor did the boy know why he was walking on the water's edge in the cold day. And he turns around, and there is the scoutmaster and another man. They came looking for him. It was a very touching moment in that boy's life because they put their arms around him and they took him back. And they made him understand he was not alone, even though his father wasn't there. And they, in a sense, restored him to faith in a strange way, not to God per se, but to humanity. And it's the same thing in every situation. If you're lucky enough, there's kind people. In Sonoma, in Napa right now, the fires, it's filled with kindness. The firemen, the police, the first responders, what do you think they're doing there? They've come from as far away as out states all around the country to help. That's the milk of human kindness that we're seeing right now in front of our eyes. And unfortunately, it's missing in the business I'm in. This business I am in is ruthless. It is the most ruthless, godless business in the world. It's nothing but hatred and vitriol and division. And it can get to you after a while. So today I'm trying to stay away from all of that. It's very hard to stay away from it. So I'm not doing the news per se. My heart's not in it. My heart is not in it at all. I don't even want to go there. I just try to stay in another place, another plane. And so that's why I'm talking about anything but the news. I can't stand it anymore. I think the news itself is toxic, to be honest with you. What does it feed off? Hatred, division, sex, violence, you name it. The worst segments of the worst aspects of humanity is what the news business is about. It's horrible. It can eat you alive. So when you say, okay, Weinstein and the girls, what is that? It's about the ugliness of humanity. It's not about the beauty of humanity. But I got to tell you something funny thing is happening to me after that Weinstein scandal. It's not like I didn't know what went on. Of course we all know it goes on. You think he's the only one who does that? You think there are guys who are not millennials, who are good-looking, so-called, and look clean-cut, who are not dirtier than him? Are you joking? You think it doesn't go on in the tech industry? Ask people in the tech industry what goes on there if the women want to advance or the boys want to advance. Ask them in the advertising industry. Ask them in the university. But that's coming next, by the way. Wait till you see what happens next with the universities. And what you think the outcome of it's going to all be? All of it's going to lead to what? To Angela Merkel-like women taking over the world. And then let me know how it works out when they take over everything. Ask yourself what they do behind closed doors. Human beings are what human beings are, man or woman, period, of the story. So I don't even want to go there. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So the boy in the cold sand, that's one story in God, Faith, and Reason about the trajectory of Michael Savage in his search for meaning, in his search for God. And what I'm saying is I never saw God. I never met him. I'm not Jimmy Carter. I don't drink strychnine and wave snakes around. Oh, yeah, there he is, right in the living room. Hey, how are you, man? That looks good. You're back from the dead. Oh, Lord, save me. No, I'm not one of those people. I could fake it and tell you that. That's not what it is. You want me to do evangelical stuff? I can do that for you if you want. I can bring down the house. I can shake the world if I wanted to. I could have been a guru if I wanted to be. I could be a guru. I can go up to Oregon, Antelope, get the ranch and 50 Rolls Royces. I don't want that. I don't want any of that. Leave me alone. I just want to be with my dog on the weekend and be, walking around and buy a hamburger and a French fries and sit in a stand outdoors and watch the world go by. The bums, the nice people, and just watch the world go by and observe it and breathe in and look at the beauty of the world. So something happened. So I got to tell you this. I'm leading up to something. So I spent the day, and I took 4 of my old journals with me from the 1970s. I'm not going to divulge what's in them because I decided to do something with them. This was the worst phase of my life, and I had forgotten about it because we tend to forget bad periods of our life. If we don't, we can't go on. Do you realize what greatness human beings are? That we put the bad behind us so we can't get up the next day? Unfortunately for me, is I wrote down a lot of my thoughts in those years. They were the worst years of my life. I had killed myself to get a PhD. I had 2 young children. I was working 2 jobs and going to graduate school. And by the way, while I was doing it, which I did in 2.7 years, which is almost a world record to earn a PhD from one of the great universities in the world, by the way, and my dissertation was published as a book, by the way, not crap science, real science, by the way. While I did my doctorate in less than 3 years after 2 master's degrees, because I wanted to teach. That's all I wanted to do was be a professor. Well, thank God I wasn't I wasn't going to be a professor because the vermin had taken over the universities. The left-wing rats took it over. They were not giving jobs to white males. No matter how great you were, no matter how brilliant you weren't getting a teaching position. And so what happened was it drove me almost to suicide because I was failing my children, failing my family, failing myself. And I wrote it all down day after day. The thoughts are so horrible. And I was going to have these journals transcribed along with 50 other journals going through many, many years. And I made a decision that day. I read it. It was so depressing. I didn't know what I was saving it for. I don't know why I wrote this stuff down. I decided to take the journals and burn them. Now, there are painters who burn their paintings, by the way, their dark paintings, and I know why now. I don't need that record. My children don't need that record. No biographer needs that record. It's time to take it and burn it. And the first cold day, I'm burning my journals. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. All right, welcome back to the Savage Nation. News, views, and reviews, occasional science. I want to tell you about a product that's true, and it's about Simply Safe, because nothing's more essential than protecting your home. We all know that, especially after what's going on in the world today. But getting traditional home security can be a punishing and expensive task. Believe me, there's a better way. Protect your home with Simply Safe Home Security. Ask anyone locked in a long-term security contract. They're on the hook for 3 years, paying $45, $55 a month. Or go ask someone who's had a system hardwired in their walls, right? The installation alone costs them a fortune. Simply Safe, and I know the owners got rid of everything that makes home security a hassle. They make it easy for you. They're very brilliant guys. Simply Safe has no long-term contract. There are no obligations, and there's no wires. You move, you take it with you. This is an award-winning home security tech magazine CNET calls Simply Safe better, smarter home security. They're right. Your home is protected around the clock with 24/7 professional monitoring. If there's trouble, they'll send the police. And the service costs just $15 a month with Simply Safe. That's 3 times less than what the other guys charge and no hidden fees. So protect your home today. You can buy Simply Safe at your local Best Buy and have your home protected by tonight. Or visit simplysafesavage.com and you'll get 10% off. That's simplysafesavage.com for 10% off your system. SIMPLISAFE savage.com. I highly recommend it. So my friend Phil says, I love your piece on the supernova collision. I love the speed of light piece. Keep it up. Try this one, he said. It's a limerick. There was a young lady named Bright who traveled much faster than light. She departed one day in the relative way and arrived on the previous night. Very nice, Phil. Of course, when I crossed the date line in the old days in my travels to the Fiji Islands, it was the same thing. I never understood that. It's very hard to comprehend. You go to, like, Australia and you're crossing the, right? It was always crazy. Those, like, Qantas and they. Anyone remember those British Airways? Those were some long flights. British Airways, right? They wore such beautiful outfits. I used to collect, like, china from airlines. I bought cups from TWA, Pan Am. Crazy stuff. Not worth much. Like ceramic cups. The way the cups were made on those airlines in those days, coffee tasted better. Why did coffee always taste better on an airplane? Well, I don't know what they were serving, like Farmers or what. But like in the ceramic cup at 35,000 feet, there was something miraculous about it. Like I could understand drinking alcohol out of a bottle because it was made somewhere else. How could they brew coffee to taste so well at 35,000 feet? Why did it taste so good? It smelled good. I'm just saying. So I bought the cups instead. They're in a closet somewhere. What are they worth, $2? Yeah, my inheritors, I can't wait to get a Pan Am cup. They'll be like $2.25 on Antiques Roadshow. My grandfather he collected, well, that's worth $1. Wow. It's worth $1.19. Oh, my God.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, the Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Who do you think you are, Mr. Big Stuff? You're never gonna get my love. Now because you wear
A lot of pain over the last few weeks. Can we lighten it up a bit? Everybody move. I'm not doing the news. Trump loves McConnell. Okay, yeah. Sure, I'm going to talk about that. Like, is that real? Sure, it's real. Politicians are politicians are politicians. We thought we elected a businessman. Right. Okay. So on my Twitter feed, I put stuff up, and sometimes I'm amazed at what draws response. Like, my thing on the Vegas shooting was enormous. Like 280,000 people responded because we all know it's a lie. We know there's a giant cover-up. But then I put like a picture of a rat in the streets of San Francisco. I got like 50,000 on that, with quips. But I put up a picture over the weekend. I took Friday off. I went to my mechanic with my XKE, which is a 1970 Jaguar. And it's a new headers for the E-Type plus engine out. So, I don't know, like 1.3, I don't know how many, 50,000 people responded. A lot of people are into cars these days. I love to watch car shows at night. Shoe shows. I like to watch car shows at night. It relaxes me to see men actually do things and fix things and know how to do things as opposed to the nefarious. So anyway, I sometimes I tinker. I'm not a mechanic myself, but I like to be there when the mechanic is doing stuff. I could do minor. So I bring the car in. You got to listen to this car story. It's a 70. I almost never drive it. I also have an XK150, pristine, like a heart-stopping black car with a red interior. And the reason I buy these old Jaguars, only two of them, is because when I was young, I wanted them and couldn't really afford them. And then I bought one when I lived in New York, and it was a pile of garbage, the worst car ever made. I remember selling it on Queens Boulevard to a shyster car dealer for $800. It's worth quite a bit of money now, probably 150, maybe 200 grand now. But it was a pile of garbage. Everyone knew that. Lucas, the electricity, electrical stuff caught fire. So I bought this car like 3-4 years ago. Now I've done stuff to it. So I want to put a clutch in. It's not like the clutch blew, but I know there's like 20% left. So I call the mechanic. I said, okay, I got to put a clutch in. He says, well, here's the bad news. It's designed so poorly that you have to pull the engine out to put a clutch in. I said, you're making this up. He said, no, now let me add something more to it. We have to remove the hood, which is a tilt-forward hood, which is so complex. To remove the engine, to put a clutch in, you got to remove the hood. That's like 10 hours of work off and on. and remove the engine. That's another 10 hours off and on just to put a clutch in. Can you believe how poorly designed these British cars are? But it's a beautiful machine. I'll have to drive it every once in a while. So listen to the story. So I said, wait a minute. You're pulling the engine to put in a clutch. While the engine is out, why don't we do a new exhaust system? I want a stainless exhaust system with a better sound. So he orders me an exhaust system from England, and I went there Friday I got it out of the box, and the welds were so bad on it, on the headers. I said, Justin, I can't accept this. It's going to diminish the value of the car. Where was this welded? In China? Like in between harvesting like sewer shrimp? I said, I'm not accepting. No, he said, no, you're right. So he called the company and said, yeah, most of them are good. We're getting new. So we're going to get new headers, right? So I'm going to get new pipes, new clutch. I said, well, you know what? While the engine's out, why don't you pull the head and take a look? He said, yeah, we'll put in a new head gasket. I said, well, why don't you look in and see? So the next thing is I'm going to do like a minor engine rebuild. Now, what am I doing this for? The car ran fine. But why? Because it's a hobby and I want it to be better. This is what you do with classic cars. It's beautiful. It's got a nice Barani wheels. But, I like reliable cars. I really don't want... The classic cars are not reliable. You can't love them. So now the news. You're tuning in to hear about Biden and Maxine Waters and Pelosi, the idiot. You may as well You want your money's worth? Okay. Can Pelosi please shut up? Would the world be a worse place if she just shut for 1 week, kept her mouth shut? Why must she open her mouth like this? Why can't she show some dignity and go up to the wine country and say what she's going to do for the people who are burned out? Instead of once again, same old, here she is opening her mouth on ABC News this week. Another biased propaganda outlet. Here's clip 14 of the biggest mouth the West has ever seen, clip 14.
This week, the week of Friday the 13th, is the week that President Trump went rogue. He went rogue on women's health in particular, affordable care.
Is it not embarrassing to you people on the left to have someone like that as your spokesmouth? And whatever happened to ABC News that they constantly have on these hacks? Why don't they broaden themselves a little bit and have someone with another opinion on? Would that hurt ABC, CBS, or NBC to have someone with a different opinion? Would it hurt the vermin of Hollywood to ever produce a movie that doesn't hate America? Would it hurt the filth in Hollywood to ever produce a movie that loves America? Would it hurt the vermin of Hollywood to stop producing the pornography and the violence they produce? For 1 second, would they stop for a second and read that? You know what I'm saying? All right, enough. New headers for the E-Type Plus engine out. So now people are writing stuff on tailpipes. A lot of people didn't know I love cars. Always trust a man who loves cars. It's like I've always trusted people who treat their dogs well. There's only one religion on earth that I tell people who hates dogs and cats. Did you know that? Fill in the blank. It's not Buddhism. It's not Judaism. It's not Christianity. It's not Hinduism. It's not Zoroastrianism. I think you can figure it out. Yeah, all right, next. What is that? Because it tells you a lot how people treat dogs. That's how. Like my dog is going deaf. I have compassion for him. That's one of the great things about Western civilization is the compassion towards animals. Even the animals that are slaughtered for foodstuffs and like leather, they're supposed to be slaughtered humanely if there ever is such a thing. I mean, there are variants on the slaughter of animals, let me tell you that. What you got to do is go to a slaughterhouse and understand nobody wants to die and no thing wants to die, whether it's a fly in your living room or a cow online to have his brains blown out. I've been in those places. And I've let flies out of a room. Because, but for the grace of God, there goes I. I mean, I'll be a fly. Maybe I'll come back as a fly. If I let a fly out of my room, for many years I always thought, there's a fly, bzzz, it's hitting the screen. It's not really bothering me. Do I have to smash it with a fly swatter? Let it out. It's not harming you. What if you come back as a fly? I mean, how do you know you won't come back as a fly stuck behind the screen and God's not testing you through a fly? This is the way. This is the way. This is the way of savage. This is the way of savage. God, faith, and reason. It's the way of savage. A bee. Does a bee really bother you if it got in the house of wasp? All right, it could sting you. But there's a way to deal with that, too. How about a crawling thing? I'll give you my biblical thing on the crawling stuff. If I get a crawler in the house, I mean, certain crawling things I don't want around. But generally, if I get a crawler in the house, I have a method. I take a glass. I put it over the crawler on the floor. It can't be a rug because you'll break its legs. It's got to be a flat, like a wood floor or linoleum or tile or marble. You put a glass over the crawling insect, and then you get a very small card, not too sharp because you'll break its legs, like a card, like a postcard type thing. And you gently, you lift the glass slightly, and you gently, and you push the card underneath the fly, the crawler, Then you put the glass down on it. Then you lift up the card and the insect and the glass, and you take it outside and you throw it in a bush. So what are you doing that for? Why? Because you may come back as the crawling thing. God has a strange way of teaching us a good thing at the end of the road. Like, what would Harvey Weinstein come back? It has to go there. I'm sorry. If God were to punish Harvey Weinstein for his piggish behavior, you say, oh, he's going to come back as a pig. No, I don't believe so. I believe Harvey would come back as some kind of like a grunting animal. I'm a pig's grunt. Like something that snorts a lot. Well, that's everyone in Hollywood during that. What would you think God will send Harvey Weinstein back as? Let's say you're not Woody Allen, you actually believe in God and punishment, and you get there. So, okay, it's the last thing, you go across the thing, you're there, now you're getting punished, now you're being judged. All right, step before me. All right, Milton, what's your last name? Rosenberg. Milton Rosenberg, step forward. All right, Milton, we have your whole track record here. No, please, it's not me. Listen, let me just shut up for a minute, Milton. We know the whole story. Wait, but you don't know what's not in that report. We know everything. Trust me on that. We got the record, Milton. Even the stuff that's not reported, we got up here. We get it all. How could you get it all? It's not even in the police record. Well, that's another story, Milton. But here's the punishment, Milton. Because in 1956, when you were in yeshiva trying to be a religious boy, and you cheated on that yeshiva exam, you destroyed your entire religious life, Milton. And for that reason, you're going to come back as Nancy Pelosi. That's right. You're coming back as Nancy Pelosi so the world can laugh at you, Milton. Next case. I mean, you don't know what you can come back. Would it be worse to come back as a bug or as a politician? I don't know what's worse. Let's take a couple of callers because you don't know what I'm talking about. You think I'm babbling, but I'm not. I'm actually making sense to those who follow me religiously. And everything is religious at the end of the day. WVFT in Florida. VFT, that's a station I never heard of. I'm sorry. I got to find out where this station is. Chris, where is WVFT in Florida?
Actually, I have no idea. Your intro person asked me the question, what was my station. I'm calling from Lakeland, Florida, and I use...
Oh, okay.
Basically.
All right, so what's on your mind? What are you calling about?
My question, first of all, I'm very much looking forward to your upcoming book, sir, on God, Faith, and Reason. And my question is basically related to that. I'm reading Kahn's book, whereby he basically identifies and connects characters and events from ancient Israel to the modern times with emphasis on northern Israel, ancient northern Israel. And this is all relative to the baseline of moral decay and decadence. So my question to you, sir, is this. Who do you think your paradigm is from ancient Israel? Have you given any thought to that, sir?
Yes. It would be one of the prophets. Most likely I would have been an Ezekiel type.
Very good. You're familiar that...
Well, let me tell you, Chris, something right now. If there had been modern electronic media in biblical times, there would be no Bible. Ezekiel would have been a very famous talk show host.
He's... and
it's actually kind of ironically funny in its own way. It's something they wouldn't understand on MSNBC because they're so disconnected from reality, they wouldn't even understand the joke. But I believe Ezekiel would have been a great talk show host.
Excellent.
Does that answer your question, Chris, in any way?
Pardon, sir? Yes, you did. You did. And
all right, stay on the line. I am sending you a free copy of God, Faith, and Reason. It's coming in a month. Actually, I'll get finished books in 2 weeks. And by the way, I'm saving reading from the book until it's out, till you could actually buy it and hold it in your hand, because I'm going to read it on the air. Get ready for November 14th, because I'm not going to stop between the middle of November and the beginning of December. Along with the news, views, and reviews, I'm going to read every day a big chunk of that book, because I think once you actually hear it, you're going to be shocked at what's in it. Here we go. He's a caller. What Weinstein would come back as. John, WABC in the great NYC. Line 8. John, what's on your mind?
Yeah, listen, I tell you, when Harvey Weinstein comes back, he's going to come back as a slug.
Ugh. You mean one that leaves us like a snail track?
Yeah, looking for a shell to put on his back.
Oh, my God. I think you're right.
Yeah, my personal feeling.
Slugs are probably amongst the most disgusting creatures God ever made.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I don't like skunks. I know that they're cute. I hate them.
My dog loves skunks. He wants to get at them all the time.
I don't know why God made a skunk. Why did he make such a horrible animal?
They're good to look.
I don't get it. That smell, you can't get it out of your car. You ever run over a skunk?
And you run over it, forget about it.
You run over a skunk, you got to burn the upholstery. It's not joke. That leads me to another thought. I have only a minute right now, but I'll tell you the story about Frank's halitosis. I was thinking about the skunk because it's an old story from one of my previous writings. There was a guy, when my father had a store on New York's Lower East Side, I was the kid, like the assistant. So One Arm Frank was his name. I hope he's passed away. I don't know if I get sued, whatever. He had one arm. So in those days, there was no politically correct culture. Everyone was identified by what they were known for. So he was known as One Arm Frank because the arm was off and it was sewed up. And he was a neat guy, always wore a suit, but the arm was gone. I don't know how he lost it. Industrial, I think. And the arm was in a suit, sewed up, and that's it. So he was known as One Arm Frank. Nicest man in the world, but he had a halitosis on him that was on a level of a medicinal problem. It was medical. It was a medical halitosis. This was nothing that could be cured with Livoris, nothing. There was not a drugstore item that he could have gargled, even if he did, which I doubt, that would have cured it. It was a medical problem. Along the lines of the judges in San Francisco. They're so corrupt in their soul that the reek comes out of them. Anyway, so to go long and short, so One Arm Frank had a halitosis. So it was a cold winter's day, you see. And we get to my father's DeSoto, and he decides on the way back to Queens to drop Frank off in Williamsburg, which is now very fashionable. It was a sewer in those days, a toilet. Now all the moron millennials pay $2 million for an apartment. Williamsburg, a sewer near the Trun's meat plant. But so we dropped him off, and we were going to drop him off. So we get on the bridge, go over, and it's like 2 degrees outside, freezing. You're like shivering in the car. For some reason, my father didn't put the heat on. He didn't like heat, so you had to freeze. He didn't like heat, so everyone else had to freeze. You know the type. I'm the same way. I don't like heat, so everyone has to freeze. I like air. Well, I'm going to come back. I'll tell you what happened with One Arm Frank.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. One Arm Frank story another day. It was so short a time. I got to grab another caller out of New York. Marie on WABC. Marie, fire away. What's your topic?
The topic was what you were talking about before, Dr. Savage, about people like Harvey Weinstein aren't just in the entertainment but also in politics. And I had an exact same experience. It sounds like some of the women that are talking about what happened to them with Harvey Weinstein when I went on a job interview for a politician. And it was exactly the same type of situation. The man was from
what? The shower, the bathrobe?
It was I went in the interview thinking it was a job interview. He took a look at the young girl that I guess he had different ideas for what I was there for a Girl Friday interview. It was a political office in Flushing, Queens. The guy was a state senator. And it turns out that I ended up with him saying he wanted me to look some forms over and papers to see if I could handle the paperwork in his office, and he locked me in a room. Locked me in a room that had no way.
Wait, locked you in? Did he touch you?
He started to get real close. All of a sudden, I realized this was not a job interview for a Girl Friday in the office. And I said, look, I'm really not interested. And before you know it, the guy was literally pulling at my clothes. And I'm not.
What was he, a Democrat? Probably a very good liberal Democrat.
A definite liberal Democrat. And I got.
Where is he today? What, did he become he moved up to like governor?
No, not that high. It was a state senator that ended up going a little further, and then I think he was arrested for embezzling funds from clients and ended up in jail. Believe it or not.
That's California. It's a one-party system. Wait till you see the next ones to fall. Going to be the politicians here when they come forward. Wait till you see.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So anyway, the fire, more or less. Yeah, okay, it's over now. When is it over now? How many billions of dollars is this going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? Oh, Jerry Brown has a plan. Just tax the rich till they all leave the state. Then who are you going to tax, Jerry? You're like the nowhere man in the Beatles movie, the 1960s, Jerry Brown, with the big trumpet, sucking up every dollar into the coffers of the Democrat criminal machine until the horn touches your own foot and you suck yourself into your own horn. Go look at the old Beatles animation, Jerry. You are that idiot, the nowhere man on the hill. The California firefighters did a heroic job. I've never seen anything like this. The historic blazes are somewhat under control. The smoke and ash had diminished over the weekend, and I didn't have to go to L.A. And amongst them, there were some highway patrol officers who were burnt out. They lived up there. And I put a GoFundMe link, a fire relief fund for the Santa Rosa squad. And so far, I don't know who it came from. $13,000 has been raised of a $16,000 goal. I want to just read it quickly, and I want to encourage you to go to michaelsavage.com and donate the money. I don't get a penny out of it, nor would I take it. The devastating fires in Sonoma County have affected many, including 8 families in our own very Santa Rosa CHP office, who have lost their homes along with nearly all of their belongings. Please help the Santa Rosa 360 Squad Club raise money so that we can distribute as soon as possible to these families in need. Thank you for your generosity and support during this difficult time. Every dollar helps. Sincerely, blank. So it's up on michaelsavage.com, and you can see people, donating money, not probably all from my show, but it's been up on my website and my Twitter feed since Saturday, and I'm glad I could help in some way. But these guys, can you imagine? They have to go to work every day and the houses were burnt out. You know what I noticed with all of these fires? The ACLU had nothing to say about it. I didn't see any men from the ACLU up there trying to put out the fire. Did you? Did you see Feinstein and Pelosi up there in boots trying to do anything about the fire? It took them a long time to get up there, but the local Nun newspaper, the mimeograph sheet of the Willie Brown clan out here in San Francisco, there is no newspaper, as you well know. It is a mimeograph sheet of the Willie Brown Democrat machine in the estimation of all those who know we once had a newspaper in San Francisco. They criticized Trump and said, editorial board, San Francisco Chronicle, our opinion, where is Donald Trump with the fires? Well, I thought about that. I said, where was their hero, Hussein Obama, during so many attacks on our soil? Like, where was Hussein Obama after the Fort Hood attack? Nowhere. Where was their hero, Hussein Obama, after the attack by Muslims on fellow workers in Southern California? Shall I go down the list? Why, he was out to lunch. He was golfing. So you say, well, where's Trump? There's your answer. Where was your guy? So don't study. This Trump bashing is boring. Can't you come up with something more creative? He's insane. He's no good. He's this. He's that. Blah, blah, blah. Why don't you move on already? You lost the election. Get over it. Get over it. He's not being impeached, and Hillary will never be president. She can be selling books nobody wants to buy. Okay, anyway, why did you see almost no coverage nationally of the fires? You assume everyone in the wine country is rich, right? Oh, wine country, they're all living in mega mansions. No. Most of the people that got wiped out were poor, in fact. And the houses that were devastated were those of people who were not rich at all. So I pointed out the highway patrol, you can give money there, and underneath that there's another box for a family that lost everything in the Cal fires, even leukemia hit one of the children. Can you believe this? So it's all there. You want to do something about it, send them $10, whatever you want to do. Someone sent $1,000 anonymously. People have money, So someone wrote this. I have a GoFundMe page on michaelsavage.com for the CHP families. And then there's another family of children that lost everything in the fire. It's really heartbreaking. And one of the kids is in cancer treatment. And the home that they were sharing with their mother and her parents that she moved into was burnt to the ground. This is a kid with leukemia. So it touched me. I put them up, the Sonoma fire victims family. And only $1,050 has been given so far. I know people are so cheap. But someone wrote something. She said, I lost everything to a fire years ago. Everything. It's a loss of identity at first. In the long run, I learned to cherish people, memories, and experiences. You will, too, sending love and well wishes your way. And I thought about that. Have you thought about what would happen if your house burned down or your apartment, you had to leave in 2 seconds and get away with your life? Have you actually thought about what you'd lose? I don't mean the money or the gold or the bitcoins or the, let us say, the insurance, all the stuff that... I am talking about your photographs, for example. I mean, truthfully, that's a big deal. I'm a big photo guy, and I have old-style photos in addition to all the years of digital. I wouldn't know what to do without him. I got to digitalize all of them fast. About last year, I digitalized all my Super 8 and 8 millimeter family movies going back to when my father was still alive in New York. I couldn't believe it. I mean, like the family story in 58 minutes. This guy does this stuff for me. What an amazing thing to watch my father walking around in the store. And there I was, a young guy with my goofy friends at parties when my parents were young. It's astounding to watch that stuff. But you ask yourself, what would happen if you got burned out? Well, the people are going through that right now. Shrinks take the streets to demand narcissistic Trump's ouster. That is not related to this, but it is. Some 125 nutjob psychologists and other mental health psychos marched along Lower Broadway in New York Saturday to demand that President Trump be thrown out of office based on a constitutional clause allowing presidents to be ousted when their cabinets decide they're, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of their job. One of the loudmouths, Harry Siegel, don't you know? As you know, Harry's probably cleaner than the driven snow. A Cornell University psychologist, Harry Siegel, shot his big New York trap off and said, "We can sense the power of Trump's underlying fear, that he is worthless and weak, by how intensely he resists and retaliated against any criticism," said the genius Harry Siegel. He said, no matter how minor, he can't let anything go. Michel Golan, another genius of the mind, also a clinical psychologist, agreed. Now, let me ask you something. How many of you have gone to therapy and stopped because you know the doctor's sicker than you are? What now? Affleck groping could put Justice League in jeopardy. Here's the thing about Affleck. I think he's a fabulous actor. This is the thing you have to understand is I enjoy his movies. I don't know what he does in his regular life. I know that's like saying I like Hitler's watercolors. I get that. I am not putting it in the same category. Don't get me wrong. But can't I just go to a movie and watch him be an actor? Or must I sit there and say he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that? Jesus said, you want me to get into that? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And I hear a lot of stones flying from people who are not so innocent. That's all I can tell you. Be careful now which way the stones are going to fly because they can come right back at you. Affleck groping could put Justice League in jeopardy. I liked Affleck in the movie The Accountant. I thought it was unbelievable. It was like Asperger's. It was pretty good, that movie, The Accountant. I watched it 3 times. It didn't do very well because it was too intellectual. You had to actually think while you're watching it. And there weren't enough, whatever, I can't, it's a family show. We have a Jimmy Kimmel piece that I'm going to play right now, which is from Comedy Central way back when. Here's the conscience of America, Jimmy Kimmel, showing a part of himself that he thought was buried, that someone dug up from a show called The Man Show. Do we have that ready to go, Jim, before we take our break? Listen to it. It's a little disturbing, but there's a reason for playing it, is because he's so self-righteous. He is so damn self-righteous that it's worth outing this guy. Listen to this clip right now. Here's Jimmy Kimmel before he was well-known, before he became a political genius, in the following soundbite.
I've stuffed something in my pants, and you're allowed to feel around on the outside of the pants. You'll have 10 seconds to then guess what is in my pants. You should use 2 hands. 2 hands. You've done this before, haven't you? Maybe it would be easier if you put your mouth on it. How old are you?
18.
Okay, good. You sure of that? Because Uncle Jimmy doesn't need to do time. You're gonna make a fine wife. I think I wore the rubber underpants. And your guess is?
Vibrator?
A vibrator? No, it is actually a zucchini with a rubber band on it.
Very funny, Jimmy. Very funny. Very good. That's real high-end comedy. Takes a lot of creativity. I wonder where the idiot is who wrote that for you. Where is he today? In a mental hospital, dead, suicide, hanging? Unbelievable. I don't know which way to turn listening to these stories anymore. And look what an expert he is on global warming and on women's rights and third world rights and immigration. This is the beautiful part about Jimmy Kimmel. He's suddenly become an expert in everything political. Did he ever go to school? I can't imagine he's educated at any level. He probably has the same level of education as Jonas Schimmel. Or he is Jonas Schimmel's. I call him Schimmel for a reason because it matches, the rhyme matches. I heard a soundbite the other day from this guy, Rob Reiner, who was probably one of the most, there's a word for him, a big blowhard of a schmendrick from Hollywood, a Brooklyn big mouth. He gets up at a Hamptons Film Festival, and he says, well, they're comparing what Harvey Weinstein did to Donald Trump. He said, It's not a moral equivalency. One is the president and one is not. Well, first of all, Donald Trump never molested anybody, moron. But number two, he then goes into a screed on global warming, and he says, they say that there's two sides to every story. Well, when it comes to global warming, there's only one side, and the audience cheers. These are people who are science illiterates. They're absolute illiterates. Unfortunately, they own the media. Now there's a story that Clinton aides are ganging up on the boyfriend of the Harvey Weinstein accuser. Boyfriend of Harvey Weinstein accuser? Current and former aides of Hillary Clinton ganged up on Anthony Bourdain on Twitter after Bourdain criticized Clinton for her delayed response to the sexual harassment allegations against old Harvey. Clinton received criticism for initially staying silent, blah, blah, blah. Weinstein had donated $1,000 to Clinton. We know that. He maxed out donations to Clinton's failed campaign, da-da-da-da-da. And the Hollywood mogul had given at least $250,000 to the Clinton Foundation. That's a slush fund in the minds of many people. 5 days after the initial New York Times story broke amid growing criticism, Clinton released a statement condemning Weinstein, acting so shocked, just shocked. She then conducted an interview with Crazy Eyes on CNN, the guy who has the bug eyes, on Wednesday night, in which the former candidate for president said she would redonate the money she received from Harvey, but did not specify where it would go. No doubt the Clinton Foundation. Now she's going to give it to someone. Anthony Bourdain, host of CNN's Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, criticized Clinton for her tepid response with several tweets. And, okay, whatever. And what happens next is pretty obvious to those of us who know how it works. To know what happens when you cross a river with a scorpion. And you know what's coming next. The scorpion always bites you. And then when you say, why did you bite me? The scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion. That's all. Is there anything new on? Is everyone that naive? You don't really know how these things go? So now you got to hear something. You don't know why I have sympathy for Harvey Weinstein. It's because he's a human being. I say, well, how dare you? He's a liberal. He stands for everything that you oppose. Because I think the mark of a man is what he feels for his enemies, not so much what he feels for his friends. And my religious teachings actually teach me not to take pleasure in the pain, even of my enemy, in battle. Did you know that? I don't know if you understand how certain religions work. So I'm supposed to laugh at Weinstein. I'm not going to. I think he's a very sick man. I don't say I feel bad for him. I don't know the man. I'm sure he thought terribly of me. It's an interesting story I could tell you. I don't know if he can sue me for it. I have a friend who's a very famous, very unknown famous film producer. And he produced two phenomenal animated films which were very big. And Harvey Weinstein was his partner. So he went to Harvey Weinstein and said, I want to do a documentary on Michael Savage. This was 3 or 4 years ago, and Harvey said, I know who he is. I hate him. I detest everything he stands for, but I'm in the business to make money, and if it's a good movie, I'll distribute it. That's what he said to him. I don't know if I could be sued for telling you the truth. We know it began with Bill Clinton. We then saw the trial of Bill Cosby, and we saw the demise of Bill Cosby. And then we saw the swift fall of other men in entertainment. And then we saw the few heroic women who came to the New York Times to take on one man's decades-long abuse. A man who's bullying power in Hollywood, whose fearful personal wrath, whose army of attorneys watching for libel or slander allowed him, meaning Harvey, to become one of the worst offenders. I do not know if this will change the long history of the casting couch, but it does remind us of the lesson Bill Clinton learned. No one, no matter how powerful, is untouchable.
I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. So in October, Twitter is very interesting. On October 12th, I put up a post. Anyone see Pelosi or Feinstein in wine country giving out blankets, raising dollars for true victims? Where are the good saints of the illegals? Okay, that was number one. Then no coverage of fires in California from the networks. Only updates. I wonder why. Then I went to I'm going to show you something funny about this. There's about 50,000 people went on that Twitter thing. Then I put up a picture on my day off of me in a mechanic's garage with my E-Jaguar holding the new headers for the E-Type, plus the engine out. 51,000 people. People were just as interested in me standing next to my Jaguar. But then I was walking in the city, and I put a picture of a huge dead rat that I saw in the streets that got me nauseous. That was Saturday. I said, what? So I put up this one, dead rat in the street of San Francisco. What's next, Jerry? The plague? What is it, an endangered species in San Francisco? A giant rat, a sewer rat? That if you kill a rat, you go to jail? Is that it? You're afraid to kill a rat because they're considered pets in the Mission District? Remember that when Clinton was doing that stuff in the White House with the dress? I don't want to go into the details because you know it. Do you know what the women said in this country, the psycho libs on the left? Aw, come on, shenanigans. There's a woman, Margaret Carlson. You just look at her, you know what I'm talking about? She's like a verb, a Margaret Carlson. Aw, come on, it was just the shenanigans, Bill Clinton's shenanigans. They wrote it off when he did it. In the White House, with an intern, jail time, commander-in-chief, jail time, not a word. So I don't want to look back, but I want to give you an example of why now. Because the reason they're going after Harvey is, A, he's not, let us say, from the South. Let's put it to you that way in a generic term. He's not particularly tall and good-looking. He's short, fat, and ugly from New York's gutters. So that fits. It fits a stereotype of anti-Semitism. That works. You get a 3 out of it that way. You get men, you get Jews, and you get one other. You get 3 points out of that one. So that's another. And Hollywood, that's 3. A 3-fer. Now here's Clinton. She's over there at the London Literature Festival trying to peddle her book, and she talks about the NFL players kneeling, and she calls that a great demonstration. It was really sickening. She's on an apology tour now, and of course the liberal psychos who threw their own nation in the toilet in England cheer her. The stupid women of England who turned their country over to the hordes cheer on this liar. I could play it for you, but I don't want to get angry. I'm sorry, I'm not going there. I'm not ready for anger.
Savage.